Chapter 26. Arona sat in his office, watching the 3 corporation executives seated across from him. The doctor was named Driner. He couldn't remember the others' names, but thought of them by the clothing they wore, red and green. The room walls were shielded. Even the windows were lined with break-up soft wires, so a laser listener couldn't pick up conversations from outside. Arona suspected that at least one of the 3 companioned men carried some kind of scrambler to block electronic eavesdropping. Maybe they all did. They'd been scanned, but there were some remarkable plastics around these days that could mimic just about anything. A shoe, a kneecap, whatever. Conversations held at this higher level were best done with great care. Nobody would be collecting Arona's words either. All right, gentlemen. Let's not do an elaborate mating dance all around it. We all know why we're here. Green and Red exchanged quick, shielded glances. No expressions to read. They'd be good poker players, Arona figured. The medical VP was also cool, but a little bit more nervous. He tapped a finger lightly against his thigh. Perhaps we should reconsider having attorneys present, Red said. Nobody is talking about prosecution, Arona said. Let's not insult each other's intelligence. I'm government and you're private. My hammer is bigger. And I'd play hell whacking you with it. We all know that too. At least right now, anyway. Red and Green smiled, identical expressions. They knew that. So let's skip the scat and get to the bottom line, Arona said. You had one of the aliens tucked away down in your SA lab, and some religious fanatics broke in and got themselves impregnated by the thing's embryos. We all know that. Your specimen got cooked in the explosion that destroyed your lab. The fanatics got away. We know that because we are still getting reports of the nightmares. So some of the damn things are still alive. Am I telling you anything you don't know? Red and Green smiled slightly, as one. Men of the world had certain sources, no point in denying it. The doctor, Driner, shook his head. We are aware of this. I thought you might be. Got a tap in our mainframe, but you don't have a line tied to our TAC unit. He looked at them. Red shrugged, the barest hint of a moment. Arona read that as a no. Well, we found one of the attackers. The doctor leaned forward, eager. With the implanted embryo? Unfortunately, no. This man's chest had been burst from the inside. He'd been dead for half a day when our team uncovered him in New Chicago. There was no sign of the newborn alien. The doctor leaned back. Shit, he said. His voice was soft. I share your sentiments, Doctor. We would very much like to collect these things ourselves, but I'm afraid our worry is now larger than simply who'll be the first to get a potential weapon system, no matter how valuable that might be. Green and Red perked up. Green said, What do you mean? Arona stood, turned to look through the window at the city lights kicking on, as darkness gathered in the dusk. Traffic zipped back and forth in the air lanes, glittering in the final rays of the setting sun. Doctor, you understand how these things reproduce. Each one is a potential queen, is it not? Driner looked at the other 2 company men. They gave him those tiny shrugs. Go ahead. The doctor said, Yes, that is possible. We don't know how many of the fanatics escaped. Could be as many as a dozen. We've lost one of the newborn aliens. The others will all be hatching from their human eggs shortly, if they haven't done so already. Is that not correct? Well, it would depend on which eggs deliver their implants. The queen laid them over several days. But at the most, several days, plus or minus is all, correct? I'm afraid so. Doctor, if there were, say, 5 of them implanted, and each of them produces a queen, and they all begin to lay eggs as soon as they reach maturity, how long do you think it might be before the damn things are swarming all over the place? Driner swallowed dryly. There's no way to be certain. That is to say, Arona turned around, felt the weight of the entire government on his shoulders. He was the expert, though these men might know as much as he did. He needed every scrap of knowledge he could get. It's rather like the hamster problem. If one mother and her litters all come to term and keep mating and having more babies who all survive, in a couple of years, we're knee-deep in hamsters. Of course, that doesn't happen. Some are killed by the mothers, some are eaten by natural predators, some get stepped on by things with big feet. But these aliens don't have any natural predators on this world. It takes armor-piercing, military-grade weaponry to kill one, and even that isn't easy. We have the reports from our colonial marines' encounters with them. A Chinese farmer with a pitchfork, an Australian bird hunter with a shotgun. They'll be wasting their time trying to stop a full-grown alien with either of those weapons. Correct. The doctor swallowed again. The question was rhetorical. In fact, just about anybody who comes against one of these things is going to regret it. They reproduce like hamsters. The queens don't even need mates. They come of age real fast. We don't know where they will start to pop up. The fanatics have spread out. We've gotten reports of them from all over the globe. Some have to be discounted, of course, but if 1/10 of the material is correct, we're going to start seeing those things making themselves known in both hemispheres from the equator to the poles. Chicago is a long way from Lima. And gentlemen, that means we will all be in very deep shit. I expect your corporation in every way wants to stop that. Because if we don't stop it, making that big end of the year bonus is going to be the last thing you have to worry about. These things will be killing so many people that you'll hear the survivors' outraged screams on Mars. And every one of them will be calling for heads to roll. I'll give them yours. Then the government will give them mine. The doctor licked dry lips. Even those two cosmopolitan men of the world, Red and Green, looked unhappy with that idea. Good. Arona had them. Now he hoped it wasn't too late. He didn't express his own worst fear, that the things would get well established enough so that the very survival of mankind on the planet would be in jeopardy. Of course, that was the worst case scenario. He didn't really think that would happen. It was just a nightmarish worry. He hoped.